Hello and welcome to the Civil War Project, where I'm retracing Civil War history one person, place, and event at a time. Because the build-up to the Civil War is just as important as the war itself, I've created a weekly recap series that posts every Tuesday. This is your weekly recap for Monday, January 10th through Sunday, January 16th, 1859. For previous weeks, you'll find them on my channel under the Weekly Recap collection. So, let's talk history. President James Buchanan appoints fellow Democrat Charles Faulkner of Virginia to be the American minister to France. Faulkner has served 3 terms in the U.S. House of Representatives, but lost his last re-election. He is a lawyer and has 13 enslaved persons on his plantation. Faulkner is also a member of the American Colonization Society, which believes that free people of color and enslaved persons should be encouraged to go to the African continent with the idea that they cannot be integrated into American society. It's very important to note that the African American community and abolitionists are strongly against this view. The president writes to Faulkner that he has the integrity, prudence, and ability needed for the position. At 2 p.m. on Monday, January 11th, around 30 men gather, along with their wives, at the Palmer House in Oberlin, Ohio. The group is a mix of black and white citizens. The event has been named the Felon's Feast. Guests dine while the Oberlin String Band plays. The afternoon and evening is filled with speeches against slavery and toasts to the brave men who were recently indicted in Cleveland by the U.S. District Court. They have a long road ahead of them, but tonight they will celebrate together. They will salute the 37 men and the stand they took last September. The one person who is not there is John Price, though their story begins with him. Last September, a former enslaved person, John Price, was approached by a teenager whose wealthy father owned farmland outside Oberlin. John had escaped from Kentucky a few years prior and had arrived in Oberlin wearing ragged clothes. He was starving. They could tell his accent was Kentuckian, but no one cared. He was designated in the town records as a poor stranger and was given a weekly stipend of $1.25, which is about $47 today. John often takes random jobs around Oberlin. So, that day, when the young man tells John that his father needs help harvesting potatoes, he agrees to the work and gets in the wagon. Once they were about a mile south of town, they were intercepted by a federal marshal, his assistant, and a slave catcher. It had all been a pre-planned trap, which started a few weeks ago when a slave catcher saw John and enlisted the help of the federal government to return John to Kentucky. The teenager had been paid to lure John out of town for $10, or $386 today. With guns and knives, they forced John out of the wagon and into their carriage. They headed 9 miles south to Wellington and made their way to the Wadsworth Hotel, which was owned by Oliver Wadsworth, a rare Democrat in a heavily Republican region. Wadsworth will help conceal and protect them until the 5:13 p.m. train departs for Columbus, Ohio. Now, Oberlin was founded in 1833. In 1835, over 200 residents formed the Oberlin Anti-Slavery Society. White and black citizens lived in the town, and Oberlin College accepted students of all races. Almost the entire city has become a part of the Underground Railroad. So, when news spreads of John Price's kidnapping, the whole town was enraged. "They have carried off with one of our men in broad daylight and are an hour on their way already," exclaimed an angry citizen. By carriage, wagon, horse, and even on foot, many left immediately for Wellington. John Watson, a black store owner in Oberlin, was the first to arrive. He immediately began shouting towards the hotel, "Kidnappers!" There's already a crowd in the streets as a large fire had consumed a building across the street from the hotel that morning, so many were already there to witness its aftermath. Before long, the existing crowd knew what was going on. The Wadsworth Hotel now had around 500 citizens surrounding it, demanding that John be released. The slave catchers hide John in a locked room on the top floor, while the federal marshal instructs his men to secure the hotel. A few men tried to get the town constable to arrest the kidnappers, with no luck. A few men tried to negotiate. The crowd continued to shout at the kidnappers and demanded to see John. Several hours pass until they hear the train coming. At this point, many in the crowd realized that they had run out of time and must act now. With the federal marshal and others distracted by negotiations, a large group of men stormed into the hotel, found John, lifted him onto their shoulders, and ushered him out of the building and into a waiting buggy that took him back to Oberlin. Although some of the rescuers were harmed, not a shot was fired. Invigorated by their success, the citizens of Oberlin returned home, singing and shouting. John was hidden at the home of a local professor, someone who was an abolitionist, but not a part of the Underground Railroad. After a few days, John was helped out of the city. It is said he went to Canada, though no one really seems to know if that's true, even today. 25 white men and 12 black men, 20 are shown here in the photo, were indicted on federal charges last week for taking John out of custody and helping him to escape, as well as breaking the law when it came to the 1850 Fugitive Slave Act, which states that former enslaved persons must be returned to their enslavers, even if they are in a free state. Their trials will start in April, but today they celebrate. They have a very long road ahead, but they also have no regrets. An 1857 book titled The Impending Crisis of the South, How to Meet It, by Hinton Rowan Helper, is starting to sell more and more copies. Published in New York City, it's being talked about more frequently in the North. The book is not being sold in the South. Hinton is an enthusiastic white supremacist, a point many readers seem to be ignoring. He criticizes slavery by demonstrating how it seems to be slowing the progress of the South, especially when comparing it to the industrial North. Even crop yields per acre are lower in the South. Hinton believes that slavery is holding the entire Southern population back. He believes abolitionists and free soilers are the best friends to the South, more so than the handful of wealthy enslavers that he believes are ruining the lives of the common white man. And those are just a few of the key things that happened the week of January 10th through 16th, 1859. Please like, subscribe, and hit the bell to receive notifications when future videos come out. Thank you for watching, and as always, I bid you an affectionate farewell.